The first sound she heard was the metal click of 100 boots straightening at once. It wasn't for her, not yet, but the shift in posture sent a tremor through the air like a gust before a storm. Her own boots, scuffed and silent, entered the briefing room 5 seconds late, carrying her toward the most high-risk mistake she had ever made, wearing the wrong patch. On purpose. The room froze. Not a breath. Not a shuffle. A long mahogany table stretched down the center, flanked by men with calloused hands and narrowed eyes. Dozens of insignia gleamed from tactical jackets. Some sat upright in muscle memory. Others leaned back, chewing gum or bouncing pens off their thighs. All of them stopped. She walked straight to the front. Her jacket bore a patch that didn't belong. Not anymore. Not after what happened in Qatar. Not after the official decommissioning. Not after the classified court-martial that never made it to public record. Her fingers grazed it for just a second. Worn fabric, ghost gray. A phoenix over shattered ground, and then dropped away. She knew what they saw. Some junior tech. A clerk who wandered into the wrong room. Someone who didn't belong among Tier 1. Operators, disaster response legends, and special security detail. The patch said she outranked nearly everyone in the room. The rank on her file said otherwise. It was bait. Colonel Branson, the commanding officer, blinked first. "Ma'am," he said, voice taut, "I believe you're in the wrong to brief." She let the silence stretch. Not out of pride, out of calculation. "Permission to brief, sir." He squinted, gaze flicking from the patch to her face. "Name, Ren Elridge." A few in the back twitched. Not visibly, just enough. She caught it. They remembered. The colonel inhaled. "Proceed." She plugged in the USB. The screen behind her lit up with a drone capture infrared overlays. Multiple pings, wind diagnostics, terrain distortions from thermal spikes. Not 5 seconds later, murmurs rose. Someone cursed. Another whispered, "Where the hell did she get this feed?" She didn't answer. 2 hours ago, she said calmly, clicking to the next frame. Site Charlie went dark. No outgoing comms. Perimeter nodes corrupted. Vitals of the embedded team flatlined, except one. The screen zoomed in. One pulsing beacon in a field of gray. They breached firewalls, rerouted the perimeter security to mask their extraction, and killed comms through a cascading EMP spill. But they didn't find him, yet. The air changed. She didn't smile. She let the next slide play, a map crosscut with threat vectors and satellite decay paths. She walked them through counter-rescue scenarios, infiltration potential, and weather windows so tight you'd miss them if you blinked. She wrapped up with, "I need 6. 2 drone ops, 1 field medic, a snipe pair, and someone who knows desert. Terrain like they know their own bones. Wheels up in 90. Branson tilted his head. "You volunteering, Ms. Elridge?" She met his stare. "I'm leading," the room erupted. Drop a if you've ever been underestimated. Comment wrong room, right fight if you've been there. The fallout started the second she walked into the hangar. Lieutenant Vickers met her with a slow clap. Not the good kind, so the ghost of Delta 9 walks again. "Thought you were scrubbing server logs somewhere in the basement. Nice to see you too. You do realize you're putting the patch back on in front of Branson. In this facility, with cameras." No. He glanced past her to the team gathering. "You're serious. More than the last time I saved your ass, Vickers. That was classified. So is this." He hesitated. Then tossed her a thumb drive. "Snipe pairs from my last rotation. They don't talk much, but they can punch a cigarette off a lizard's back. In crosswind." She caught it. Nodded. The team gathered fast. Maybe too fast. 2 drone specialists, a wiry woman named Harris, and a sarcastic coder called Shin. Field medic was ex-Navy. Hands too steady to belong to anyone who'd seen real trauma, but he had. His quiet confirmed it. Then came the sniper. Duo, Fletcher and Rowe, No first names, no unit insignia. Just steady steps, hawk eyes, and a nod. Last came the desert specialist. He was already waiting by the exit ramp, tan gear, weathered goggles, a broken radio on his hip like a charm. She approached. He said, "You look different than the photo. Hair's shorter. Confidence is bigger. Good. You're gonna need both." He held out his hand. "Call me Reese." She took it. Wheels. Up in 60. The craft screamed over salt flats. Every briefing she gave was tight, precise. Every silence in the cabin held weight. And somewhere behind their watchful glances, the doubt lingered. They saw her patch, but not yet her reason, not yet. The plan. The mission wasn't just recovery. It was exposure. They would learn the hard way. The wrong patch was never a mistake. It was a message. To the ones who buried her record, though to the ones who sold out sight. Charlie. To the one survivor left waiting in the dark. To herself. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. The rotor wash slammed the hatch shut, rattling her teeth with its feral ferocity. Every grain of sand in the bleeding sunset seemed to rise in protest as the transport lurched forward into the dark expanse. Silence fell for exactly 3 heartbeats, and then the engines died. Wind hammered the hull. A world of darkness awaited beyond the open ramp. She paused, chest tightening, mind sharpening in the hush. Backstory thread. She remembered her mother's steady hands in field hospitals, how they found light even in cracked bone and smoking wreckage. One greasy lamp, one quiet prayer. The lesson, calm in chaos. She flexed her fingers, tasting the memory like metal on her tongue. Lieutenant Vickers cracked open the cabin door. "We're clear," he muttered, voice almost lost in the wind. She stepped out into the shoulder of the desert night, every movement measured. Footsteps sank into coarse sand, swirling in twin vortexes of moonlit gray. Behind her, the team formed a tight arc, Harris and Shin on the drones, Fletcher and Rowe aligning scopes like surgeons preparing scalpels, the medic unfastening his pack, Reese mapping the shadows with practiced eyes, inciting incident. No sooner had the hatch closed than a series of red pings lit up on Shin's handheld console. Enemy drones, silent vulture shapes, swept across their perimeter at treetop height, scanning for heat signatures. One passed directly above them, its whispering rotor blades trailing an electric hum through her spine. Thermal signatures. "Spiking," Harris warned. Her voice was taut, clipped. She raised a gloved hand. "Hold position. We're ghosting until we hit the corridor. Then we move on my mark." Her voice carried the weight of command, no room for doubt. "Conflict and reveal." Fletcher tapped her shoulder. "Command's new, but it doesn't compute." Her eyes narrowed behind the NVGs. "Why are we crawling in the open? Why not path echo?" Rowe's answer came in 3 silent words. "Because it's blocked." She flicked her head toward the horizon. In the wavering heat shimmer, a cluster of silent beacons glowed. The enemy had seeded motion sensors across every logical approach. They had cut their route, funneling them into a death trap. She allowed a crack of frustration, then squeezed it shut. "Change plan. We go through the rubble field." She pointed at the skeletal remains of an abandoned outpost, a tangle of steel beams and collapsed walls. "Risky but unpredictable." Reese exhaled. "It tears our cover, and we're exposed." "Better exposed than neutralized. Move." They set off. Sand shifted beneath them like broken glass, each step a muted scream. Shin's fingertips danced over algorithms, rerouting drone flight paths to create a temporary corridor of darkness. Harris guided the miniature UAVs overhead, their blinking nav lights subdued to faint flickers. Resolution and reflection minutes felt like hours. Every drip of sweat tasted of salt and irony. Underestimated once more, but they'd swamped the grid. Her mind wandered to the lone beacon of the survivor, a pulse in the chaos. She'd promised extraction, promised retribution. Each heartbeat was a countdown to discovery, then a flash. A single muzzle flare lit the night like a dying star. Automatic fire rattled the air, sending sand spraying like ash. Contact! Someone yelled. Harris's voice crackled over the comms. Unidentified hostiles, bearing 095. She froze. Terminal moment. The wrong patch no longer disguise. Now it was signature. The enemy knew who was coming. Her pulse narrowed to a pinprick. Audience prompts, drop a, if you thrive under pressure. Comment wrong patch right mission if you'd keep pushing. Like, if you trust your instincts in the dark. Gunfire erupted again, echoing through the night. She didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the flare, mind slicing through fear like a blade. Her team followed. The storm broke. They moved like muscle memory, each motion stripped of excess, every glance a signal. Wren hit the gravel first, sliding beneath a rusted pipe. Her hand flicked up halt. Behind her, the team scattered into cover with surgical precision. Years of training, years of not knowing her name. But tonight, they followed dot rounds chewed into the concrete wall, inches above her head. The bark of an assault rifle bounced through the rubble maze. Not amateurs. These were trained, controlled, coordinated. They knew exactly where she was going. 2 shooters, elevated, Rowe whispered in her comms. No, 3, Fletcher added. 1's pacing. He's waiting for us to reposition. Confirmed, Shin cut in. Thermals show a 4th circling wide. They're trying to flank. Suggestions? Wren asked. Light them up, Rowe muttered. Backstory thread she remembered how her father taught her patience. Not just how to shoot, but when not to. Anyone can pull a trigger, Wren, he said. Takes discipline to wait for the shot that ends the fight. She exhaled slowly. Fletcher, Rowe, tag the flank first. Everyone else, smoke's on my mark. She dug into her belt, fingers closing around the capsule. 3, 2, 1. The night exploded in swirling gray, inciting incident. Smoke bloomed across the field like a storm cloud exhaled by the earth. The wind tore at it, but it was enough. Harris launched 2 mini-drones straight into the air, their feeds splitting across Shin's display. They're pulling back, he said. They're not used to resistance. Correction, Harris said. They're not used to us. Wren charged through the blind, low and fast, her sidearm raised. She didn't look at the corpses when she passed them, one down by Rowe's handiwork, another folded over broken masonry from Fletcher's shot. No time. She vaulted a barrier, and there a silhouette. Not enemy, civilian, limping. The survivor. Her breath caught. Visual on asset, she said. East quadrant, still mobile. Moving to intercept. Conflict and reveal, but something shifted. Survivor didn't run. He turned. A patch glinted on his sleeve, charcoal black with twin daggers. Her heart seized. That's not our guy, she growled. Elridge? Vickers' voice. Tight. It's a setup. The beacon was spoofed. The man smiled and raised a trigger. Boom. The explosion rocked the outpost, sending steel beams cartwheeling through fire. Wren flew backwards, her ears filling with static. The world broke into red and silence. When sound returned, it came with a scream. Medic. Resolution and reflection. She rolled to her side, coughing smoke. Somewhere nearby, the medic knelt beside Harris. Blood stained. Her leg. Shin lay on his back, blinking up at stars that weren't supposed to be visible through fire. The trap wasn't just for her. It was for all of them. But why fake the survivor? We just got fed to the wolves, Reese said. He stood beside her, face covered in soot. They didn't want to stop us. They wanted us here. Then it means what we thought was bait isn't. She stood, ignoring the ache, staring out past the ridge. The real survivor is still alive. But now they know we're looking. And they know you are. Good, let them. Audience prompts. Comment if you'd walk through fire for the truth. Type, they messed with the wrong patch if you're. All in now. Night swallowed their retreat. They carried Harris between them, every step burning into memory. Wren kept watch as the stars wheeled above, silent witnesses to what came next. Whatever line she had crossed by wearing the patch ... there was no going back now. Ash fell like snow. The makeshift camp crouched beneath a crag of broken rock, where drone signal couldn't penetrate and satellites read only shadows. Wren sat with her back against the stone, Harris's leg propped on a field case beside her. A tourniquet held, barely. The medic's hands were steady, but she knew he was using the last of the good coagulant. They had 4 hours, until sun up ... and maybe 2 until the next strike. Shin muttered into his screen, fingers flying across code. Like sparks off steel. His eyes were bloodshot, shoulders hunched. No signal spoof from here. They used a relay drone, high altitude, my guess? Chinese tech, off-grid. Then someone funded this, Wren said. Professionals with deep pockets. Or clearance. Reese added quietly. Backstory thread her stomach turned. There it was again, clearance. Always hanging like a vulture over her name. She remembered standing in front of a panel. 7 men in suits, 1 woman with a military bar so polished she could see her own panic in it. Tell us again what you did to override the lockout protocol. One had asked. I bypassed the cascade and used a ghost kernel to reinitialize telemetry. The woman had blinked. You what? They didn't understand. Not really, but they feared what she knew. And buried it. Inciting incident now. Firelight caught the edge of her stolen patch. She stood. I want eyes in the sky, she said. Even. Low rays, Shin, used the microburst. 1 ping, no repeat. He hesitated. That'll light us up. She nodded. I know. He did it. A pulse fired into the void, then silence, then a trickle of data. Partial feed. Low frame rate, and 1 glowing. Heat signature. Holy hell, Shin whispered. That's a humanoid. Still broadcasting, still alive. Location, northwest quadrant, about 20 miles. Wait, he added. It's moving. Toward a long-dead mining rig. Wren stared at the map. That's a Black Echo facility. Fletcher looked up. No, Wren said. They never pulled out. They went underground. Conflict and reveal. She dropped to a knee beside Reese. If we go in, we won't come back the same. Maybe that's the point. He shouldered his pack. They left Harris with the medic and Shin. Fletcher and Rowe came with, silent, watching. The wind rose. Halfway there, Rowe suddenly stopped. Held up 2 fingers. Movement ahead. They hit the ground, through a broken culvert. Headlights sliced the darkness. Not military. Civilian trucks. But the men atop the beds were tactical gear. Clean, coordinated. And on the side of one vehicle, barely visible under dust and grime, a logo she hadn't seen in years. Gideon Security. Her blood turned to ice. That's not possible, she whispered. What? Reese asked. They were dissolved, disgraced. I testified against them. Fletcher looked at her. Why do they know you're here? The answer sickened her. Because I'm the only one who ever beat them. Resolution and reflection of voice crackled. Over a radio somewhere above. Target confirmed. Same patch. Move to intercept. She turned. They're not after the survivor anymore, she said. Rowe drew her blade. They're after you. The trucks turned. And accelerated. Audience prompts. Comment if you've ever had to face what you buried. Drop a. If you'd keep going even when they come for you. Wren dove for cover. Bullets shredded the sand behind her. The patch glared in the headlights. The past had come hunting. She would not run. She would fight, even if she had to do it alone. She pivoted and dropped behind the ridge as the headlights climbed toward them. Loose shale scattered down the slope, but she didn't flinch. She'd trained for cliff drops, tunnel fights, heatstroke recon. This wasn't chaos. This was the reveal. Fletcher was already prone, rifle unstrapped. Rowe vanished into brush without a word. Reese pulled a signal jammer from his thigh pack and snapped the aerial into place with practiced fluidity. Wren reached up and ripped off the patch. Not in surrender, but in declaration. "You're not chasing a ghost anymore," she muttered. "You're hunting fire." The first truck crested the ridge. Backstory thread: Gideon Security hadn't always been a shadow company. Once, they were elite contractors, world-respected, unaffiliated, until they began rewriting code in combat AI units, allowing lethal overrides against civilian constraints. Wren discovered the breach while running diagnostics on a downed drone 2 years back. She escalated it, and they silenced her. 3 months later, her unit in Qatar vanished under supply error reports. No one ever mentioned it again. Until now. Inciting. Incident tires ground to a halt in a fan of dust. A voice echoed through a megaphone. "Wren. Elridge, we have your signal. Stand down. This doesn't have to end hard." She stood slowly, exposed against the skyline. It already did. 3 things happened at once. Fletcher fired. The left gunner slumped backward. Rifle clattering off the roll cage. Rowe emerged like a specter from the right flank and drove her blade into the back tire. Detonating a shock charge, the vehicle pitched. Wren ran. Bullets tore through the dust. Reese tackled her as the second truck opened fire. His jammer sparked from a round, piercing the coil. He shoved a backup module into her hand. "Plant this on the high ground. I'll draw left." She bolted uphill, lungs on fire. Conflict and reveal: the second truck was already repositioning. She slid behind a shale outcrop, pulled the jammer apart, and rerouted its output through her HUD. The pulse would cut there. Communications long enough to fracture the command tree. She activated it. The valley fell silent. No more orders. She climbed to the ridge. From there, she had eyes. 2 mercs were breaking from the truck, yelling. Another was slamming his helmet, trying to restore uplink. Then dash movement. A 4th operator. Not with Gideon. Wrong stance. Wrong kit. He raised a drone pistol, aimed it, and fired into one of the mercs. Wren froze. He was helping. She snapped her scope into place. The man moved fast, clearing the bed of the second truck and yelling something she couldn't catch. He wore no insignia, but on his forearm was a crude patch, homemade. Her old unit's crest. "Delta 9, she whispered. "Impossible." Resolution and reflection: the trucks were on fire now. Smoke rolled upward like a signal flare. She and Reese regrouped by a half-collapsed culvert. Fletcher and Rowe arrived seconds later, both breathing hard, neither speaking. Then, from the dust, a figure limped forward, hands up. "Don't shoot," he called. "I'm friendly. I'm what's left." He stepped into the light, a face she hadn't seen in over 2 years. "Callum?" she whispered. He nodded. "Took me this long to crawl out. They said you were dead." "No," she said. "They just hoped I stayed buried." Audience prompts. Drop A if you believe the past can still fight back. Comment: "They messed with the wrong unit if you'd never forget your team." Callum staggered. She caught him. "I have files," he murmured. "Everything. Black Echo, Gideon, even your tribunal." She looked toward the distant horizon. "Then we finish what we started." They moved fast, shadow to shadow, the weight of truth pressing down harder than the sand underfoot. Callum leaned heavily on Reese, breath shallow, skin pale beneath weeks of dust and sun. But his grip on the data slate was firm, fingers curled around it like it was the only thing keeping him alive. They reached a collapsed utility station, buried beneath slanted earth and reinforced with scavenged girders. Wren pushed aside a camo net to reveal a deep crawl space beneath the surface. Old network node from the pre-civilian mining era. It was dark. It was perfect. Inside, Shin waited. When he saw Callum, he stood so fast he banged his head on a pipe. "No way," he whispered. "No way." "Way," Ren said, voice grim. "Plug that in." Backstory thread. Callum sat hard against the wall, head tipped back, eyes glassy. "I knew they'd come eventually," he said. "Didn't know if it'd be you." Ren crouched beside him. "You sent the beacon?" "I never stopped," he coughed. "Started with sand-buried relays. Then a fractured AI beacon on the old drone. Net. Eventually figured out a loop-back signal that Gideon's anti-radiant filters couldn't detect." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because you told me the truth was always worth it." Inciting incident. Shin's console flared. Data cascaded like a dam breaking. Logs, footage, biometrics, falsified reports. Satellite timestamps cross-referencing Black Echo and Gideon operations. Financials linked to shell cores. And deep within it all, a sealed folder titled E9 Tribunal. Fletcher frowned. "What's E9? Ren swallowed. "My trial." She stepped forward. Shin glanced at her. This is everything. If we get this uplinked, it's not just vindication. It's exposure, operational collapse. Black Echo can't survive this. Reese nodded. "Which means they'll come harder now." Ren touched the stolen patch in her pocket. "Let them." Conflict and reveal. Static burst through the relay. "Signal breach," Shin whispered. "They've pinpointed us. Counter UAVs inbound, 1 minute out." "Then we move now," Ren snapped. "Split. Reese and I take Callum east. Shin, Fletcher, row head west. Upload from 2 ends. What about Harris?" Shin asked. "Already gone. Medevac drone got her out an hour ago." "She left a note for you." Shin blinked. "She did?" "Yeah. It just said about damn time." He smiled. "Figures." The team scattered. Ren slung Callum over her shoulder, weight jarring but familiar. She'd carried worse. Across a collapsed ravine, beneath a blinding sky. They ran, then the horizon blinked. Not sun, targeting flares. She rolled them behind a boulder. The UAVs screamed overhead, beams slicing across the desert. One swept left, hovered, then fired. Boom. Shrapnel peppered the rock face. Her HU deemed. Comms fried. She had seconds. She yanked out her last jammer, slammed it against a rail spike in the dirt, and set the frequency. The drone spun. Paused. Then shut down. She didn't breathe until it crashed in the distance. Resolution and reflection. Callum coughed hard. "Did you ever think it'd go this far?" "No," she said, "but I never thought you'd survive either." He laughed weakly. "I'm too spiteful to die." The second UAV closed in. Ren grabbed a flare. "This'll burn my signature onto every satellite for 50 miles, she warned. "Do it." She struck it. Fire blazed around them. A moment later, her comms chirped. "Uplink confirmed," Shin said. "All files queued. Countdown to public key injection in 3 minutes." Then static. Then, multiple hostiles inbound. Vehicles, heavy, too late to run. Ren stared at the flame-tinted horizon. "No," she said. "It's right on time." Audience prompts. "Drop us if you'd carry the truth, no matter how heavy. Comment they'll regret chasing her if you're still locked in." From the west, headlights grew. From the sky, drones howled. And in Ren's hand, the final truth burned brighter than fear. Dust swallowed the light. The flare hissed as it died, spitting sparks into the night wind. Ren dropped it and drew her sidearm, the muzzle steady despite the tremor in her ribs. Callum leaned against the rock face behind her, breathing ragged. Clutching the data slate like a lifeline, from the east came the growl of engines. At least 3 trucks, maybe 4, heavy ones. The kind used for sweep teams and personnel extractions, but they weren't here to extract. "Not tonight." 10 seconds, Reese muttered. crouched beside a tangle of rebar. You want top flank. Or distraction? Neither, Wren said, eyes narrowing. I want blood. Backstory thread. She remembered a hallway in Brussels. A closed-door meeting. The sound of her boots on cold marble as she walked out without her rank, her clearance, or her team. They said she'd made the wrong call. That exposure meant instability. That systems worked because they were quiet. She didn't care about quiet. She cared about truth. And now? Now they would feel it roaring. Inciting incident. A spotlight ignited overhead, cutting through the haze. She dove to the right, dragging Callum behind a concrete barrier as bullets punched into the ridge. Shards sprayed across her cheek. Rhys opened. Up with his rifle, short bursts, controlled. Not wasting ammo. She blinked once, twice, and then slipped around the far side. Going for the lead, she whispered. Cover me. Rhys didn't answer. He just moved. Conflict and reveal. Wren sprinted low, closing the gap as the trucks fanned out. The lead vehicle's doors slammed open. Black Ops silhouettes fanning outward. Gideon operators. She recognized the stance, the arrogance, in their spacing, confident, untouchable. She hit the first one with the butt of her pistol before he saw her. His jaw crunched, and she caught the rifle mid-fall. The next tried to spin. She dropped him with 2 shots to the chest. That's when the comms came back online. Her earpiece hissed. Wren, this is Fletcher. We've rerouted uplink through local relay towers. Upload at 73%. But they're jamming satellites. Wren ducked under another barrage of fire. Then we hold until it hits 100. A grenade bounced nearby. She kicked it over the edge of the ridge, just before it detonated. Dust swallowed her again. Resolution and reflection. Callum had dragged himself to a different outcropping, blood soaking his sleeve. Wren fought her way back to him, ducking under suppressive fire. She pressed a stim injector into his thigh and keyed the painkillers. His eyes fluttered. Still with me? He smirked. You're hard to miss. Rhys slid into place beside them, reloading. 3 minutes left, he said. We're not gonna hold this long. Yes, we are, Wren said. Because if we don't, no one ever sees what they did to us. From behind, the drone whistle returned, but this time it wasn't theirs. New boogies, Shin said in her ear. Not Gideon. Heat signature suggest mil-spec, friendly, unknown. But they're landing hard. Wren rose from cover. Just as a second team rappelled down from a tilt rotor, bearing unfamiliar insignia, clean gear, muted colors. No flags. One approached fast. Too fast. Then stopped. He pulled off his helmet. Major Aiken, Office of Rogue Intelligence Recovery. We've been monitoring this for a long time, Wren stared. I's a myth. He handed her a tag with a secure code. Not anymore. Audience prompts. Drop a if you'd hold the line with her. Comment, she wasn't alone after. All if you felt that twist. Behind her, the upload bar beeped. 99%. Wren raised her weapon. She wasn't finished yet. The hum of the rotors overhead faded into the distance, swallowed by the storm of static and ash. Wren stood at the edge of the ridge, weapon slack in her grip, staring down at a landscape rewritten by combat. Twisted metal. Scorched sand. The last traces of Gideon's retreat vanished beyond the horizon, dust trailing like shame. Behind her, the data slate chirped. Upload complete. They'd done it. She exhaled for the first time in hours. Callum was still propped up near the makeshift antenna rig, skin paper pale, but alive. Shin knelt beside him, doing his best to stop the bleeding. Rhys stood watch, eye on the trail. Major Aiken, Wren said, turning. Your timing sucked. Aiken smiled faintly. We let them commit. That was the only way to get the chain of custody clear. This whole operation's been a needle thread. You used us as bait. He didn't deny it. She didn't punch him, but she wanted to. Backstory thread. Ren remembered the first time she trained with live fire, her father behind her, arms crossed. "Don't trust clean suits," he said. "If they show up when the smoke clears, they were watching the whole damn time." Now she understood exactly what he meant. Aiken approached slowly. "The data you recovered, it's already been cloned to every secure node in our blacknet. Tribunal files, drone AI corruption logs, asset elimination orders. It's real. You just reset the playing field. I didn't do it for politics. I know, but the effect will still echo." Inciting incident. Reese cut in. "We've got movement on the western ridgeline." Everyone tensed, but the shapes coming over the slope weren't operators. They were civilians, dirty, exhausted, some limping, others helping those too weak to stand. Dozens of them. Aiken stepped back, startled. "What is this?" Callum coughed. "Collateral. Survivors from every site Gideon touched. They were hiding in the subterranean levels of the old mining rig. We triggered a signal cascade when we opened the main comms node. It called them out." Ren stepped forward, breath-catching. One of them, a small girl no older than 10, held a torn scrap of military fabric. It bore the same patch Ren had worn when she first walked into the briefing room. The phoenix over shattered ground. Conflict and reveal. "Where did you get that?" Ren asked, kneeling. The girl pointed back toward the others. "My mom had it. She said if I saw it again, it meant someone was still fighting." Ren's throat closed. Aiken muttered something into his headset. "We'll need to extract them immediately. There's too much risk of retaliatory strike." Ren stood slowly. "No, we walk them out. All of them. If we call in evac birds now, it'll look like a black op cleanup. We move slow, on foot. Broadcast the signal. Let the world see us come out of the dark." Aiken frowned. "That's not protocol. It's truth." And this time, no one argued. Resolution and reflection. The trek began at dusk. Rows of broken men, women, children, and old soldiers who'd hidden too long in silence. Fletcher and Rowe returned, flanking the line without words. Shin carried Callum's slate like it was sacred. Reese stayed close to Ren's side, rifle always half raised. Step by step, they crossed the desert. And with every mile, more signals joined. Phones, civilians, local radio, even satellite blips. The data had gone live. The world had seen. And the world answered. By dawn, drones with blue insignia buzzed overhead, not armed, but broadcasting live feeds. One hovered near Ren. She turned toward it, the stolen patch in her hand. She held it up. Just long enough, and let it fall into the dust. She didn't need it anymore. Now the whole world knew who she was. Audience. Prompts. Drop a if you've ever had to carry the truth across fire. Comment. They tried to bury her, but she became the signal if this part hit home. In the distance, helicopters began to circle. But Ren kept walking, because some stories weren't just about survival. They were about making sure the silence never returned. The wind shifted as the second sun rose, this one man-made, dull and flickering, hanging from a rescue balloon tethered high above the desert floor. Its light painted the column of survivors in amber, casting long shadows of the past. They walked. Still, silent, steady, scarred. And at the front of it all, Ren. Her gait was loose but purposeful, the stride of someone whose limbs were frayed, but whose core refused to bend. Her eyes scanned the horizon constantly, calculating terrain, cover, escape. She didn't care if the world was watching now. She just needed to get them out. Backstory thread. In the final weeks before her tribunal, she'd spent every morning before dawn cleaning the compound's firing range. It wasn't punishment, it was strategy. Solitude before the storm. She remembered one morning when she scrubbed soot off the base of a target and found a single copper slug embedded deep in the wood. Not fresh, not marked. Fired from a gun no one admitted existed. She pocketed it. It lived in her locker until the day she was stripped of her credentials. She never forgot how it felt. A bullet buried in silence, waiting to be heard. Inciting incident. Distant shapes stirred on the horizon. Low, angular. Fletcher squinted through her scope. Convoy. 3 vehicles. No insignia. Hostile? Rowe asked. Unknown. Reese stepped up beside Wren. Want me to intercept? Wren studied the formation. Too clean. Too slow. Double quotes. No. Let them come. Everyone else fan out. Calm, visible, but not stupid. The trucks arrived like vultures circling a battlefield. The lead vehicle stopped 20 feet out. Doors opened. Men stepped down, not in armor, not with weapons drawn. They wore press badges. Conflict and reveal. The first man approached with a visible mic rig and a drone-mounted camera. I'm Javier Conlon, Ina. We picked up the signal from the towers last night. Everyone's talking about it. He gestured to the swarm of drones overhead, more now than before. From every outlet imaginable. We just want to hear your story. Wren didn't blink. Which version? The one with the truth. She turned slowly, sweeping the camera with her eyes. You have the data, but not the context. You'll call this a whistleblower op. A rogue rescue. Maybe even revenge. But none of that matters. She pointed to the survivors behind her. This matters. They hid for months while the world let silence grow teeth. Now they've walked through that silence and it's bleeding. Javier swallowed. May I ask your name? She hesitated. Then. Not at once. Wren Elridge. Former technical lead, Delta 9. Unranked, unarmed, unforgotten. Resolution and reflection. The interview wasn't live. But within the hour, every major network had it. Her face. Her voice. Her words. The survivors. Kept walking. And now, strangers joined. Locals, retired medics. Volunteers with food and water. They came from everywhere, drawn to the signal. Fletcher said nothing, but Wren noticed her shadow never drifted. Rowe took up rear watch. Her blade now visible on her thigh. Reese carved small lines into his field journal. A tally, not of kills. Of those saved. Shin updated a public repository from the field. The full tribunal logs, footage, declarations, debriefings. They didn't just burn the curtain. They built a platform on the ashes. Audience prompts. Drop a if you've ever had to walk forward with the world watching. Comment. She made silence impossible again, if this part gave you chills. As night fell, a new message blinked on the shared channel. Unknown node online. Wren tapped it. A new voice spoke. Wren Elridge. This isn't over. The voice was low, genderless, wrapped in layers of distortion like a snake in wire. Wren Elridge. You think you've won something. All you did was open the vault. Now everything you thought buried will crawl into the light. The message ended. No signature. No origin. Just static. Wren lowered the slate slowly, her jaw tightening. Fletcher approached, rifle at her side. Who was it? Someone who knows me, Wren said. Or thinks they do. Reese joined them a moment later. Trace? Shin shook his head. Like chasing a ghost in a power outage. Nothing's bouncing back. It was routed through at least 7 dead satellites and one that's supposedly underwater. Wren nodded. Then we make them speak louder. How? Shin asked. By moving forward. Backstory thread. Years ago, she read a quote painted on the wall of a foreign operations gym. Make your shadow so long they can't hide in it. She didn't understand it then. It echoed with every step she took. Inciting incident. The convoy slowed as they neared the first checkpoint, an abandoned monitoring station nestled between 2 cliff faces, long since stripped of official purpose. But the tower still stood, and it still had a dish. We use it, she said. Boost the signal. Make the story unignorable. Aiken caught up, lips pressed tight. We can't. That tower is on international jurisdiction. Broadcasting from it without clearance could violate treaties. Good, Wren said. Then they'll all look. She climbed out. The wind screamed at that altitude. Every rung felt. Rusted, every hold a risk. But she didn't stop. At the top, she slotted in the uplink drive Shin had modified. The satellite signal spiked. The data already public now carried a call. To every dismissed soldier, to every buried unit. To everyone watching, she transmitted a single sentence. We walked through IT, so can you? Conflict and reveal 20. Minutes later, nodes began blinking on the map, isolated pings, from former contractors. Old black echo sites, burned IDs resurfacing. What is this? Aiken muttered. Wren stared at the growing constellation. They're answering. Then one feed went live. A dim bunker. A tired man with a fractured jaw and a scar over one eye. His voice cracked but carried. You're not the only one who kept the patch. I've got files too. Buried them when I ran. Wasn't brave enough to share, until now. Another joined. Then 3 more. By nightfall, there were 17. Each with names. Each with pieces. A war room built from memory and rage, resolution, and reflection. Wren stood back as the signal kept pouring. This wasn't just about clearing my name, she said. It was about unburying all of them. Fletcher nodded slowly. What now? Now we don't stop. Rose stepped forward for the first time in hours. We go into the dark, where the signals end. Shin handed her the slate. Then we'll need every ally we can find. The world had changed in 12 hours. She wasn't the ghost anymore. She was the map. Audience. Prompts. Drop if you'd follow her into the dark. Comment. She turned echoes into a signal if this one hit deep. As she descended the tower, a gust nearly threw her sideways. She caught the railing, but not before she saw it. A flash of movement in the ravine. Below. Not friendly. Not retreating. Watching. The shadow shifted again, just beyond the broken edge of the ravine, where the sun hadn't yet touched. A figure moved through the dust like a forgotten bullet. No insignia, no weapon raised. Just watching. Wren froze on the tower ladder, one hand gripping the cold steel, the other hovering near her sidearm. The figure stepped back, vanished. Backstory thread. Years ago, during a desert rotation she wasn't supposed to survive. Her mother told her something as they waited for medevac, shoulder to shoulder under a shredded canopy. When truth walks, ghosts follow. Not to stop it, to see if they can still feel. Wren hadn't understood it then. Now she felt it in her bones. She climbed down fast, dropping the last 3 meters and rolling into a crouch. Fletcher met her at the base. Movement? Yeah, Wren said. And it knew I saw it. Reese joined them a second later. Shin's uplink caught something. Non-aerial, non-thermal, low EM signature. Stealth suit probably, too far to chase. Too close to ignore. Wren muttered. Inciting incident. A low rumble echoed across the rocks. Not engines. Not drones. A voice, broadcast through frequency hijack. Scrambled but strong. Welcome back to the edge, Elridge. We've kept your seat warm. It was a woman's voice this time, confident, cold. Then a location ping lit up. An old testing ground just 18 miles south, a place scrubbed from maps years ago. Callum, still pale but upright, limped over. That's Black Rock facility. They said it was decumbed after the quake. It wasn't, Wren said. She's inviting us. Who is she? Fletcher asked. I don't know. But she's using my old signal ID to do it. Conflict and reveal. They set out before noon. No support. No EVAC. Just 5 of them. Wren, Reese, Fletcher, Rowe, and Shin. Callum stayed behind with the evac group, transmitting archive files as fast as his fingers could type. The trail turned from dirt to cracked stone. Then from cracked stone to metallic debris. Shrapnel. Discarded hardware. Dried blood that no wind had dared to touch. By sunset, they reached the entrance. It looked like a rusted loading dock. Fletcher reached for the manual override. The door opened by itself, lights inside flickered on, cameras adjusted. Turrets tracked but didn't fire. Ren stepped in first. The air was cold, sterile, too quiet. Then a speaker hissed, "You wore the wrong patch, Ren, but we let you keep it. Because we were building something better." A figure stepped into view at the far end of the corridor. She wore Ren's face. Resolution and reflection. Ren didn't move. The others froze behind her. The woman same height, same scars, same eyes, smiled. Faintly, "We copied you," she said. "Every op, every note, every hesitation. Because they wanted loyalty, but they didn't want you. They wanted control." Shin's voice was hoarse. "She's AI." "No," Ren whispered. "She's a clone." The woman, the copy, tilted her head. "Not quite. I'm the version that obeyed, that accepted the purge, that didn't resist. But I remember everything you did." Ren stepped forward. "I came here to shut it down." "You are it," the copy replied. "You just changed versions." Audience prompts. Drop A if you'd face yourself for the mission. Comment "Truth has a twin" if you saw this coming. The room lit fully now. Behind the copy stood 6 more. Each wore a different patch. Each had her face. She counted them, 1, 2, 3, 7. Each one moved slightly different. A breath held longer. A blink delayed. A foot angled too sharp. But all of them had her eyes, her posture, her memory. Ren didn't lower her weapon. "They copied your mind," Shin murmured behind her. "Not just your face." Ro, dead quiet until now, whispered, "Which means they know your strategy." "And my failures," Ren added. Backstory thread in a classified op she never put in writing. Ren had once been forced to dismantle an entire AI combat assistant network when it started replicating behavioral algorithms too accurately. Her final report said, "Human error is replicable. But instinct? That's sacred." She prayed that was still true. Inciting incident. The room pulsed. Fluorescents buzzed like they were breathing. The copy stepped forward. "You should understand. You made us. They just extracted the pattern. We are the outcome of your logic at scale." Reese cocked his rifle. "You sure talk a lot for a failed prototype," the copy smirked. "I'm the one who didn't run." Ren stepped forward. "You're the one who let them bury the truth. That's not obedience. That's surrender." A siren blared through the facility. Ren's HUD blinked. Security seal initiated. All exits locked. "You walked into your own prison," the copy said. "Let me show you what you would have become if you'd obeyed." The 6 others stepped forward. One wore combat fatigues with the mark of black. Echo. Another had the Delta 9 emblem twisted into a corporate logo. One carried a child's dog tag. The smallest had hands stained with engineering grease. Ren's breath caught. They were Avatar's versions of her paths. Conflict and reveal. The lights cut. Then flickered back to red. Each copy split off into the corridors. Shin cursed under his breath. "This is a gauntlet. They're forcing you to face each one." "Us," Ren said. "They want me to fight them, but they didn't expect I'd bring my shadow." She turned to the team. "Split. Pairs. Take each path. Bring down whatever version of me they built. Then we meet at the core." Reese stepped beside her. "We walk into memory? We burn it down." They split. Ren took the central corridor straight into the origin chamber. It looked like a clean lab at first. Then she saw the operating tables, the preserved limbs, the labeled vials. Each one, Ren Elridge V1.2, V1.5, V1.9.7. On the far wall, her tribunal file projected larger than life. Her words, her face, her so-called crimes. She approached the terminal. The copy appeared on the screen. "You can't delete yourself." "I'm not trying to," Ren said. "I'm proving I'm more than you ever calculated." She keyed the override. It required a biometric she knew they wouldn't fake. Her heartbeat, Not her rhythm, her fear. The scanner pulsed red, then green, resolution, and reflection. Every lab door unlocked. The facility rumbled. Across the compound, Fletcher and Rowe had dispatched their clones. Shin uploaded the false identities to the war room. Reese planted the last data spike. As the core collapsed, Wren stepped out into the corridor. The copy waited. Alone. Scarred now. You'll never be clean again, she said. Wren raised her weapon. I don't need to be. I need to be true. She fired. The clone dropped. Not with a scream. Just silence. Audience. Prompts. Drop up if you'd fight even your own shadow. Comment. She made the mirror shatter if that twist hit hard. As they exited the compound, the sky was dark, but the first beacon blinked in the distance. They weren't done yet, but now nothing could rewrite her again. The desert exhaled. Night fell without violence for the first time in weeks. No gunfire, no warning sirens, no encrypted signals clawing at her nerves. Just silence, a good silence. Wren sat on the tailgate of a rusted transport truck with her sleeves rolled up and her boots in the dust. Her rifle lay disassembled beside her. Not from failure, from choice. Behind her, the old Black Rock compound burned quietly. Rowe stood at the eastern ridge, watching for shadows. Reese stripped the Dead Comes repeater for salvage. Shin sorted through what few records had survived the data purge. Fletcher cleaned her knife, edge precise as breath. No one spoke. No one needed to. The mission wasn't over, but one war was. Backstory thread. Years ago, Wren had stood in a hospital corridor, waiting for her father to come out of surgery. He'd been shot during a training demonstration, gone wrong. Friendly fire by a trainee with nerves like glass. The doctor had said he'd make it, but when he woke, he only said one thing to her: don't forget what calm feels like. She hadn't, even. If calm had become a memory more than a condition, it wrapped around her like a blanket. She didn't dare trust yet. Inciting incident. A new signal buzzed in. But this time it wasn't a threat. It was a request. Livecom channel. Global Pressio and SRR team. She tapped it. A woman's face filled the screen. Mid-40s. Crisp blazer, wind-chapped cheeks. Real, grounded. Miss Elridge, she said. The world wants to hear what happened. Wren looked past the camera at the team, then at the burning facility. Then into the lens. We walked through fire. And when it wasn't enough, we built the truth from ash. They'll tell you this was about revenge. It wasn't. This was about light. She paused. And the right to wear your own name. The reporter leaned in. Do you still have the patch? Wren reached into her pocket. Held it up. Then set it gently on the truck bed beside her. Not anymore. It's yours now. Conflict and reveal within hours. The signal spread across the global net. Civilian inboxes, military archives, contractor forums, AI monitor groups, journalism hubs. Every system that had ever buried a name felt its walls shift. Within those echoes, others responded. A medic in South Africa uploaded patient logs marked unresolvable. A drone tech in Arizona released a guide titled Undoing the Ghost Protocol. A mother from Ankara uploaded a voice message of her daughter's last classified come before vanishing. Each one a light, each one a match, and Wren's story her full dossier, her tribunal, her final stand became required reading in 24 academies overnight. Resolution and reflection. 2 weeks later, Wren sat in the hangar of a civilian drone response hub. Clean, quiet, nothing burned. She calibrated a guidance module without anyone watching over her shoulder. Shin ran tech downstairs. Rowe led training sessions. Fletcher had a new knife, and Reese built walls around the place. Physical ones. Not the metaphorical kind. For once, Callum walked again, slowly. But he walked. The world wasn't perfect, but it was no longer silent. One evening, the team gathered by the back stairwell to watch a desert storm roll in. Thunder cracked across the sky. Fletcher leaned back in her chair. So, she said. What now? Wren sipped her tea. Now we wait for the ones who think silence can return. And when they do? Reese asked. She smiled faintly. Then we walk again. Middle of part 13. The story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now back to the story. Epilogue. Thread. Months later. Wren received a small package. No return address. Inside, a bullet. Polished. Familiar. The same slug she'd found buried in a training range years ago. And beneath it, a note, still waiting to be heard. She held it up to the window. Let the light hit it. Then locked it in the wall safe beneath her workbench. For the day it would be needed again. Audience prompt. Drop a if you carried this story with her. Comment. Her silence changed everything. If you saw the world bend,